this evening, for this opportunity that we have to gather together as citizens in this community. We're thankful for the blessing it is to live here and for all the wonderful amenities that we have and the great community and folks that live here. We are thankful for this chance that we have to discuss the affairs of the city and pray that thou will bless us with guidance and thy will, that we may work to come to good solutions and that we can work together as we work through the business of the city. And we pray for these blessings and favors this night in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We will start off with the roll call. Let's make my way around the table. Councilmember Van Ormond. Here. Councilmember Kurtz. Present. Councilmember Ball. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Cargill.
Present.
Councilmember Spencer.
Present.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Present.
And Councilmember Dunn is out of the country, so if somebody would like to make a motion to excuse him.
Motion to excuse Councilmember Dunn.
Do we have a second? Second. Second by Councilmember Van Ormond. All in favor of excusing Councilmember Dunn, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. All right, we're up to agenda approval. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor, we're gonna make or propose one small change here, and that is to add a 7B, a proclamation on Arbor Day.
Do we have a second? Second. We have a second. So Councilmember Kurtz. Okay. Any questions or comments on the motion? All right, not hearing any. All in favor of amending the agenda to add 7B Arbor Day proclamation, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0.
All right, I'll make a motion now to approve the agenda as amended.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor of approving the amended agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. All right, we are up to citizen comments. So we have opportunity for citizen comments, both here in the council chambers and online. So for those of you online, if you'd like to make a comment, please send a message to our meeting host and he will get my attention. If there's anybody here in chambers, we have a yellow half sheet over by the door over there. If you'd like to make a public comment, rules of engagement are 3-minute limit. Keep it respectful. There is no back and forth with the council. If we do need to follow up with you, we will make sure we have your contact information. Do we have any from here in the chambers? I don't see any. Do we have anybody online?
I show no hands raised online.
Thank you. Okay, we'll have Mark Saba up to the podium. You can get your paperwork later. Welcome.
Thank you. Mark Saba, I am a resident 20 years now of Liberty Lake. I got my Winter Glow hat on now. As you all know, Winter Glow is a nonprofit 503c. We have 2 fundraisers that we do every year. And coming up as our first fundraiser, which is our not annual, it's our 3rd ever Winter Glow Golf Tournament. It'll be held on June 9th at Liberty Lake Golf Course. Kit and Tony and them have treated us so well that we keep going back. It'll be a shotgun start, starting at about 8:30. I've got applications here. We've got them here at the City Hall. If anyone's interested in picking up and signing up, we'd love to see put together a team and join the fun. It's a fun activity, and it gives us an opportunity to make some money so we can still light up Liberty Lake during the holidays. So thank you.
All right, and do you need volunteers?
Yes, and you are already signed up for the hole-in-one with my wife and Marcia. So yeah, we're covered on volunteers.
So if anybody would like to volunteer, we will.
They
put you
can,
in
just
touch.
contact me with no problem. We won't turn them down.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else here in chambers or anybody online? We all good? All right, so we will move on from citizen comments to announcements, proclamations, and special presentations. First up is Superintendent Dr. Parker. He's going to give us a presentation on Central Valley School District, and we're hoping to make this a habit.
Yes. Mayor Kaminskis and council members, I'm delighted to be here. And I also just want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to share with you a little bit about the district. I think you've got a slide deck that's going to get queued up for me, and it's probably going to be pretty annoying because there's going to be clicks because I want to showcase some items that are going to come in on the screen. As that's getting queued up, I just want to share just a little bit about myself. I'm John Parker, still relatively new superintendent here, and just really delighted to be here. What was really neat is I just walked over here, or I have the ability to walk right over here because I live really close in Meadowwood. And just want to, with the invocation tonight, I just thought it was really interesting about the idea that how blessed we are in this community and all of the different amenities we do have. And I think that extends into our school district as well. And I'm just hoping tonight just to share with you a little bit about where we are and where we're going over the course of the next few years. We've been moving fast and furious. So next slide, please. You might have, there you go. So this is always an interesting metric for us in the school district, and this is a question I get often. The health and vitality of any school district is usually measured by the enrollment. We're standing at about 14,210. That can always fluctuate based on the FTE or full-time equivalency of our students that are in Running Start versus students that are within our rooms all the time during a school day. And one of the things I just want to share with you that we're excited about, it's holding steady. Over the last 2 years, 2 years ago when I first arrived, we were anticipating about a 400 student increase, which is significant. We didn't get that. We had about 200 students more than we did the previous year. And then last year, we still had about 148 students more, which is showing growth. Next year, we're anticipating some flat enrollment demographics and also birth rates and such from both the county as well as some statistics from the state show we have families having fewer kids and across the state. And so in that process, when we do our, we talk with and work with our demographer, we usually will take that and build a budget based on that. Next click, please. I want to talk to you a little bit about trends and two things. First of all, the partnerships are absolutely critical to us, and that's one of the reasons I'm really excited to be here. Anytime when we can reach across tables, shake hands, and work arm in arm with individuals that are doing work in support of kids, we want to find a way to do that. I was just talking with Mark, right? And we're talking about how I had the good fortune of being in the dunk tank this last summer. And, you know, we do what we need to do to show support. And one of the things that I just feel very strongly about throughout the course of school year is really being involved and out in our schools and in our classrooms, being able to see what our administrators are up to, talk to kids, and especially talk with teachers. The other thing that's really exciting, so that's the partnership piece. The other thing that's really, really exciting and, you know, also a little bit interesting and at times a little bit contentious is this whole artificial intelligence piece. And that is just imagine this kind of tsunami wave hitting K-12, pre-K-12 education and AI. The trends are really important and really important to our teachers and our students. And if you talk with our students, they would tell you firsthand, they're using this technology probably the most, even some of them more than the teachers. So we're getting on the front end of that and building philosophies. So we're trying to be on that front bow wave, and that's exciting. Next click. I think one of the parts that is really of concern to us right now is inflation. When we have and we are very legislatively active. Work I do in communicating often with our representatives and our senators in the region. Excuse me. We are doing everything we can to provide a K-12 lens to what's going on here in Liberty Lake and Spokane Valley as far as our school district to show the immediate impact. And so legislators, representatives and all, when they're making those decisions in Olympia, they're well armed with data that is from here, that is local. And that's very important to us. So important that just last week we had one of our state representatives in two of our schools, along with board members, to showcase what's going on in our classrooms, to allow them to ask questions so we don't leave to chance those things that are concerns to them. They ask questions about transportation, curriculum resources, what we're doing as far as intervention work with kids, how we're hitting literacy and mathematics and other topics. So this is very important. And the other thing that's of a primary concern in our forecast is the impact of inflation, whether it's with wages, buying power. Those are all things that we're having to be aware of, down to the cost of energy and climate change, certain taxes that are being imposed there that really change some of our bottom line. So we're being pretty vocal as much as we can be and making sure that our voice is heard because we want to make sure we're utilizing and extending every tax dollar we can. So next slide or click. One of the big things we started last year that was really important because the previous strategic plan for the school district had sunset in 2018 was to develop a new 5-year strategic plan. And if you could just do 4 clicks real quick there. You can see that we're taking a strong look at pursuing a culture of belonging and equitable opportunities for all. Another thing that we're doing is we're really taking a look at reimagining systems and structures. And there's a lot of new things that you would end up seeing that I won't go into detail right now, but all the systems level things that are going to impact efficiency and effectiveness are the things we're trying to hit on. And also, we're constantly taking a look at academics as our driver of what we're trying to do. And then what we do is we try to make sure that we are providing all the supports necessary so that academics sticks, that it's well received by kids. We're taking a look at some of our really alarming trends in attendance and such. And we're trying to see what we can do to make sure that our students are in full attendance. And when they're with us, we're supporting them and hitting it hard with academics in the classroom. And then also, we really like number 4, the launching infinite possibilities. I'll touch on one of those coming up just as a highlight. Next slide. One of the things you're going to see kind of here and peppered throughout is our focus is on kids. Kid-centric, kid-focused, what's best for kids. Right now, when we take a look at what's best for our kids, we've had to do some challenging work around our budget. That has not been easy. Last year, we had roughly about a $9 million shortfall that involved non-renewing several staff. And those are always difficult conversations. And we don't intend to go through that again. Because that's been was really challenging work because this is livelihood, but we also have to have a balanced budget, and that was going to be really important for us. The other thing that I just want to point out that we're not alone in experiencing some of these budget issues. If you look at other school districts in Spokane County and even across the state, there is significant budget shortfalls in many districts now this year. And so I'm really glad that we're on a really sustainable path now, and we will continue to do so and ensure that's the case into the future. And so next click, please. The other thing is, and one more click. I want to talk to you about the launching infinite possibilities. This is something we're really excited about. And I just want to make sure we're putting this out there so I could talk all night on just this one alone. One of the things that we're talking about is how can a kid one of our students, starting and going from 8th grade to 9th grade, get involved with getting an Associates of Arts degree without having to leave the high school. We're there. We have college in the high school classes already. We have advanced placement courses. We have a very vibrant and robust Running Start program. How do we marry those things? And we're going to be probably one of the first school districts, among the first school districts in the Eastern Washington to offer this after we have had a strong, over the last several months, communication with Eastern members from Eastern Washington University, the community colleges of Spokane to offer this. And we've already mapped out a full articulated program so that when our 8th graders go into 9th grade, they're starting a cohort program and they're going to be able to exit with a diploma and also exit with an associate's. And imagine doing that so it's not costing those kids a dime for their first 2 years of college if they're going to go to college. The other big thing that's really important is the fact when they get that AA, they get automatic matriculation into any 4-year institution. So it's bypassing all of the rigmarole and admission requirements. It allows that. And so there's some incredible, it's an equity game changer is what I say, because every kid is going to be afforded this opportunity. So we're really excited about launching Infinite Possibilities with the AA degree in the high school. Next click, please. We're also on the academic side, we're having to kind of really work on some things called grading practices. In every classroom, every teacher assesses kids, and what we're finding is we need to kind of bring those practices together so they're in alignment from one class to the next class, but also one school to the next school. You may think, of course you would do that. Why isn't that the case? I think grading practices is one of the key things that is the big linchpin of successful academics. And if it's not done, you can have such a variety of academic achievement amongst students. And so this is kind of a real cornerstone piece for us. Next click. The other thing that I just want to, and I can't say thank you to our voters enough, is the passage. You can click it 2 more times. We had 2 levy measures that passed with roughly a 52% vote. We are absolutely grateful and thrilled to our voters for this, because one is our educational programs and operations levy that allows us to keep offering some of the high-level extracurricular courses as well as offerings and activities. And then the other thing is the 6-year, that's a 3-year, and then the 6-year capital safety and technology levy. We're really excited about that as well. And when we talk about the infinite possibilities, we need to raise and make sure that we have the highest levels of standards of safety in all of our schools. And when we did a needs assessment, that's what we came up with. And then the other thing is we're dedicating almost $23.5 million to upgrading and making sure that our kids have some of the best and up-to-date technology tools at their disposal for learning, because we learned a lot from the pandemic, and we learned a lot that their technology doesn't play the only role, but it plays a key role, especially in this age. Next click. So we're really excited about those things. I wanted to share, I think I would be remiss if I didn't share some of this information. Just go ahead and click it once for you, and you'll be able to review this. So I'm not going to get into this, but I just wanted to show you the trajectory in the direction that we're going across all of our grade levels with the Smarter Balanced Assessment tests. When you take a look at the color there, you're going to notice that we're second basically to Meade. I don't like being second, and so we're going to continue to work on that. But I also wanted to point out, these are trends that after COVID and some of the impacts we saw, we've got a lot of work to do, but this is promising. Next click. This is the first one was ELA. This is math. And you can see we have just adopted a new math curriculum for in kindergarten to grade 5. And this is really to help kids be algebra ready, because some of the new curricular resources are really strong with that. And we saw some real gains in just 1 year, when typically you will see a dip when you do a new implementation like that. Next click. We're also very proud of some of our science scores as well. This year, or in October, I was contacted, and Ridgeline is going to host the Washington Science Teachers Association annual conference at Ridgeline, and we're really super excited about that. You can dig into those, and at any time, please reach out. Happy to talk about any of those metrics, but we're really trying to make sure we're using metrics like this to guide our work, guide improvement, and also the improvement plans that every single one of our schools puts together. Next click, please. I also wanted to show you here, if anything, you're going to see the English language arts, math, and science. And all I'm going to say is when you're looking at trends, green is good. Green is a trend upward. We got some red up there, but that was a trend that we're real proud of with the work we're doing right now. And it's not to say, again, more work is not needed. We're going to continue to push that. We want to surpass Meade, and we want to make sure that our kids are very well prepared, not just for graduation, but if they're a seventh grader going to eighth, third going into fourth, they're prepared for that next level of learning. That's the responsibility that I'm sharing with our principals, and I'm sharing with all of our staff members. Next click. One of the key things I just wanted to share a little bit more about is that one of the things that in all of the walkthroughs I did last year in my first year is that there was a overwhelming sense of pride in this community, number one. And I think I heard, I don't know how many times I heard, we may be big, but we have a small community feel. And I wanted to capture that. And in the process, we have conducted a reorganization of our central office, as well as all of our schools. And not surprisingly, what we have done is create these 3 smaller learning communities that all are articulated for schools that feed the elementary schools, that feed our two middle schools, that feed our high school in U-High. Go ahead and click once. Central Valley, click a second time, please. And Ridgeline. You may think, well, why reorganize this way? Well, there's a significant body of research that talks about when you increase the coherency vertically, so teachers from one grade level, both below and above you, are clear on what you're teaching, how you're supporting kids, and that wraparound service. Or when they're going from, for example, Liberty Lake Elementary to Selkirk, if we're closing those gaps as far as the teachers at 6th grade being ready for the 5th graders when they're coming, good things are going to happen. Whether it's academics, whether it's the support mechanisms, that's one of the reasons why we're having this. And kind of we actually stole the motto from a pharmaceutical company, but we love it. It's small enough to know you, but big enough to serve you. And that's really an important service model. And we're building on this, and there's been some reorganization in our central office with that as well. So we're really excited about this initiative. Next click, please. Coming down to the end here, I just wanted to share a little bit that is impacting this community, and that is the gun club cleanup right around Ridgeline. There are a number of acres right around Ridgeline that we still own. We built Ridgeline, and with the intent that we would take a look at possibly 1 or 2 more schools in that general area that was formerly known as the gun club. And without getting into a lot of the details of that, go ahead and click 3 times, please. Thank you. We have been just recently, our school board approved the process whereby we are going to need to clean up that site. We would not be able to do anything if we did not clean up that site. Not just, you might think, the lead, that's the easier part. It's the particulate matter from the pigeons that were all over the property that we're going to have to mitigate. And so we just started recently. I think just today, if you drove by, I think you might have seen the demolition of the building there. But we're just removing trees, and bunkers and asbestos abatement and all of those things. We went out to bid, and so we've got that whole process started. And the goal here is that we want to make that property ready and buildable, or if we end up surplusing it, that we will be able to have that ready to surplus.
And we're obviously looking at recapturing costs associated with what we were gonna have to do with the cleanup. I think it's always been known that we were gonna have to do a cleanup. And in fact, the gun club itself had set aside $1 million to assist in that. This was before my time upon arriving here, but we're really glad to get this moving. Next click. I think we've already covered that, so next click there. The last slide I have here is, I will echo again, just this notion, and one more click, please. The whole notion of partnerships, that is really important in the whole sense of community. It really takes a village, it takes a community, and our partners, whether it's the Liberty Lake City Council, you all, and the people of Liberty Lake, or it's Spokane Valley, and everybody in that, I mean, it really takes a collective effort, especially with two municipalities. And we're really looking to, again, extend our hand and partner with you all. And so one of the things in closing, I just would say is that if any of you at any time want to come over and visit our LTC, love to give you a tour to share kind of some of the things about that building and any other building, answer your questions. Because what we're finding is that by having that knowledge about the district and not wondering about certain things, we want to make sure you're well armed with knowledge about the school district, whether it's about our finances, whether it's about buildings, or it's teaching and learning. We want to answer your questions. So we just wanted to, I would close with that and would welcome any questions from the council here this evening. Mayor Chris, I hope I didn't take too long.
Oh, you're all great information. We
Okay.
fully appreciate your partnership too, and I'm going to give you a call in about a week on the idea. Councilmember Kennedy, you're first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. It's been
Yeah.
very informative. You did mention one thing that I'm really excited about, is that the AA degree that you guys are able to looking into. That is something that I was not familiar with myself, and how I became aware of that is my 15-year-old grandson comes in and he says, "Grandpa," and he was excited. I didn't know if he just got a driver's permit or whatever the case may be, but he was excited about that program. And he said, "Sit down, I want to tell you about this." And I'm thinking to myself, I was so proud at that moment that here he was saying, "You need to understand what this is going to be, how advantageous this is going to be." And he was so excited about it. And I realized that that is going to be such a great asset to our students at a very young age, that if anything, it could get them early with their moving on to college or whatever else they want to do, without having that lag in between high school and that. So I'm really excited about that. I'm looking forward to that moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other, Councilmember Ball?
Thank you for coming. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and I agree, the AA program, that's awesome. But you mentioned AI and that your high school students are excited about it. Are they excited because they can cheat? I mean, I'm scared of it myself. I mean, are they gonna just have AI write their papers and that's it? What do you
Yeah.
do to keep them from using it in nefarious ways?
Yeah, I think what we've done two things. On the one hand, what we've had to do is kind of address it from this different angle. We're not going to stop or hold AI back. We're never going to be able to do that. What we're trying to do is embrace it in the way that we're showing our students how to use it, utilize it appropriately. When they use it, there is now methods by which they have to cite sources when they're using, for example, ChatGPT. When they go to use it, when and how they're using it, teachers now, we're providing training on showing teachers how to use it to help students organize their thoughts, not just to write the paper. We also have tools to analyze student writing to see if it's written by them or not. And our students know that too. So we're being savvy right along there with them, but we're not focusing on that. We're trying to get it to the point where we're using it as a teaching tool for students and for students to use it appropriately. And that's the big thing. I mean, when you look back on these monumental quantum leaps forward, whether it was the computer or even the calculator, remember that when the calculator, I remember my math teacher, I'm dating myself now here. And it wasn't the abacus, but it was a Texas Instrument. And I'm looking at the teacher was, oh, this is going to be the ruin. And it wasn't. And I think that is the kind of the same motto and that we're using and the same narrative that we're using. We're really trying to offer a lot of the professional developments to the teachers and also get them savvy on how to spot it if it's being used inappropriately.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Oh, I-
Councilmember
go
Spencer.
ahead.
Oh,
I had one more question, but
Okay,
go
we'll
ahead.
come
Chad.
back.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So going back to the AA degree, I'm curious, you mentioned that it would be directly transferable. Is that to any public institution or is that gonna apply for private institutions as well? Have you already kind of seen how that's been applied?
Well, we're in the process of getting that launched. Having an associate's degree is nothing new, but the students have had to leave the high school. And we have had so many parents express the fact, I would love for my student to be able to stay at the high school, retain their experience while they have there without having to leave the campus to do that. Answering your question, the first question you asked, that is specifically to public. And I don't know, for example, if the matriculation to, for example, Gonzaga or another private university, we'd have to do some checking on that. But this is, so I'd have to check on that, Councilmember Spencer. But the one thing that I just want to point out is this. In talking with Senator Mark Schussler, he and I had a really good conversation about this. He had a situation where there was a student, there was a 4-point student. He graduated with, I'm going to guess, around 5 or 6 AP classes, had done stellar and all, applied to the University of Washington and couldn't get in. That's crazy to me. And so I look at this as a game changer on the public side because that would then allow that student to get into that. And this all started over a cup of coffee with Chancellor Brockbank. He and I were having coffee and I said, wouldn't this be great? And he and I were applying it to our own kids. And one of the stories that I share from him and have asked, and he doesn't mind that I share this, is his son did the AA program and came back, and now that is his way to get into the University of Washington. So that's that piece that's going to be, I think, a pretty significant game changer. And that is a requirement the public institutions have to allow that. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks.
Before we circle back, does anybody else who hasn't had a chance to comment have a question? Councilmember Van Orman?
As long as I can not cough, my apologies.
Oh, no problem.
Wanted to let you know that my son graduated from Central Valley School District, did the Running Start program, went to Eastern and then on, and now has his doctorate. So looking at all the things that Central Valley School District afforded my children, thank you for doing all that you're doing. Appreciate it.
And I appreciate that. And I would be remiss, Ben Small and I talk frequently and often, and especially because we're engaged right now in the partnership between the district and Launch Northwest, of which Ben is a part of. And I would be remiss if I didn't say all the work that Ben Small did in building some absolutely incredible structures and putting an infrastructure in and programs in. But I will be sure to convey that to him as well.
And
Yeah.
I do every time I see him. Yeah.
Good.
All right, anybody else before we circle back to Linda, Councilmember Pro Tem?
I was just gonna say, next time you come and give us a presentation, we expect to see a Ridgeline jacket.
I know,
instead of
Steve
student-
Pickett had fun. And I do have one.
All
And
right,
if I were to step on campus at Ridgeline with this, I think I would be running.
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Point taken.
Councilmember Kurtz, anything?
I think, would you be able to give just a brief synopsis of the Balance Calendar project that you guys have been doing?
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, the Balanced Calendar is an initiative that's part of our strategic plan under one of our initiatives. And one of the things that we learned coming out of the pandemic was there is a significant concern by both students and parents about the social and emotional needs and well-being of our students. One of the things that we talked about is the fact that we have a start after Labor Day, and we usually end at the end of June. Everything is really packed. And when you think about the pulse of a school year, there are a couple of times that is really grueling for our students and it's grueling for our educators. And that's the time about mid-October and also in the period from January 1st to spring break, or you could look at it even President's Day weekend. That's a pretty long stretch. And what we wanted to do, this is a statewide initiative that they're asking school districts to look at. And what we did and what I posed to our school board is, what if we explore the possibilities? Without we know that we may elect to say, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to keep the schedule exactly as it is. But with this knowledge of what we've learned from the pandemic, we don't want to let this opportunity go by without asking some really tough questions like, what would be a 180-day calendar that would best suit our kids and our staff, their needs? We have some growing concerns and problems we're trying to address with some of the mental, emotional needs we have some from our kids that have been, we've seen those coming out of COVID. And so what the balanced calendar is, it's not a year-round school. Just want to clarify that. This is 180 days redistributed amongst the school year. And even when we look about that, another way I can get run out of this district pretty quick is when I start imposing on the summertime around the lake. So I hope this is being recorded. It doesn't mean that, okay? This is about, we're looking at some small incremental changes, perhaps, and that would then explore the idea, what if we had a couple of places in the calendar where we had a few more breaks, still 180 days, but it might impact the start of the school year and at the end, perhaps, on how we distribute those. And so we just recently sent out a survey to all of our community. Great response back. On May 13th, we're going to share those results. And we're also going to just share an update with the board. We're not making a decision then, but this is where we're going to make sure the board is well informed. Decision will be coming. I don't even think it'll probably be this year. It might be early in the fall next year for the following year. No change for next year. Did that answer enough?
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks. And I think we've run through everybody. Linda, go ahead.
So, I hate to bring up something so negative, but, the child that had a knife at the elementary
Yeah.
school, how did that slip through? Because you talked about safety. I couldn't believe it. I mean, how in the world?
Yeah. I think what's interesting about this instance, I just want to share something without divulging too much, because the privacy piece is also really important, just as much as the safety piece. I had a chance to talk with one of our executive academic officers who used to spend years as an elementary school principal. And one of the things they shared with us, or he shared with me specifically when I was talking with him, we have some of our youngsters that bring all sorts of things to school without necessarily the intent to harm anybody. Knives are among many times brought to schools, and sometimes our younger learners just bring it and they bring something to school, and we have to have some corrective behavior. The one thing that I just want to share, that I don't want to open a can of worms here, is that whenever we deal with any matter, we are right on top of it. And we do all sorts of things that are kind of in a sequence that follows a protocol whereby we take a look at however many students are involved in a situation. In this case, it was a very small number, i.e. 1 or 2. And typically what we do is we get those students addressed and we bring those parents in right away. And we talk with those parents. Then what happens is we automatically, when there is a thing where we deem it as a threat, we automatically, and this is for any sort of scenario like this, we will automatically protect both the child and the environment, the other students in the school, by emergency expelling that child. That's standard procedure. It sounds harsh, but it's intended with the word emergency to separate so we can do a proper investigation on it. And at that time, what we always do is we conduct a threat assessment. All those processes were followed right away. I think the part that was really of a concern to a lot of our Liberty Creek Elementary parents was what they felt like there should have been more communicated to the entire school population. So one of the things I'll share that is problematic with that. And when we start sharing things out with parents that are getting involved with the knowledge about a child that has brought something to school and they don't know all the details, it's better off to keep it small. And when you start communicating it out, what starts to happen, and I've seen this happen over my career dozens of times, is that a child is automatically labeled, is automatically ostracized. Families are ostracized because of the action. And I have seen time and time again where that child didn't even do anything wrong. But there's kind of the judge and jury out there. That's why we keep it very closed. And if there is something that were happen, a safety issue in a classroom, every single one of the parents in that classroom would be communicated with, and we would deal with that accordingly. As it moves up in scale, the broader the communication. And there's been instances where whole school situations, we let the whole school know that there has been an intruder. And then, of course, we do secure and teacher lockdowns. So this is one of the situations where I think one of the biggest concerns is just the communication piece. More parents wanting to know, and every parent wants to make sure that their child is safe. And that was one of the things that parents had that feeling, just with also the explosion of some of the social media that was going on. That's probably about as much as I can comment about that with going into further detail, but I can't stress this enough. And I've also got someone behind me here that can even vouch for that. Brian is a very much a very important part as a person that helps with our security. And we constantly are doing training protocols to address this and balancing a need to know for safety for a lot of people and the right to privacy, because those two things we're always trying to juggle. I hope it helps some. Okay.
The social media game of telephone was the modern day. You know, you put 20 people in a row and you start it here and it's a totally different story by the time you get to the end. And it's absolutely frustrating. And so I thank you for walking through that.
Certainly.
And
Certainly. And again, I really want to welcome any and all of you over to come see the LTC, and I'd love to give you a tour and answer more of your questions.
all right, anybody else? All right, thank you so much for coming and spending time walking through everything.
I just would also be remiss if I didn't acknowledge, just for one of our meritorious winners, Mayor Kaminskas is one of our meritorious winners, and I just have not had a chance to deliver this lovely certificate. So I'm going to utilize this opportunity now. So Mayor Chris, thank you from the Central Valley School District.
For not being able to be
That's quite all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, we are on to our Arbor Day proclamation. We will turn this over to Kelsey to start.
Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal.
All right, we will pause and take any questions or comments from the council before I ask for a motion of support. Any questions? All right, so does somebody like to move to support, and we'll look for a second. So moved. All right.
Second.
All right, so we've got that. All right, so now therefore, I, Chris Kaminskas, Mayor of the City of Liberty Lake, do hereby proclaim April 26th, 2024 as Arbor Day in the City of Liberty Lake. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations, dated this 23rd day of April 2024. And I will also add that if you guys are free at noon on Friday, we will be planting our tree out by the ball fields. So I think, I'm pretty sure we have one of the classes from one of the elementary schools coming over to help. So I will go ahead and sign this and get this off to Kelsey, and thank you for your support, everybody.
Do
Oh,
we need
yeah,
to have a
that would
vote?
be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thanks, so all in favor of
Aye.
supporting this, any opposed? Sorry, just got so excited about getting that passed. All right, okay, so we are on to reports and inquiries. First, are there any city council reports? Councilmember Kurtz.
We'll report on the rest of the balance calendar. So you guys heard a little bit more from Dr. Parker about that. But at the last meeting that we had a week and a half ago, we got to review the data that came out from the community. And they had over 4,000 adult participants and over 1,200 student participants in the study over like a 2-week period, which I was pretty impressed by. We had the chance to review, there were 198 pages of double spaced of comments. So they gave each of us a few of them to kind of go through and do like a pro and if they were pro and con to kind of help with the data there. The interesting thing was that there was a lot of, I think, positive support for the idea of doing something different. I think people really wanted to know a little bit more about what that meant. There were the 4 different options that were proposed. And students were a little bit less excited about the idea than the parents were. But there was a lot of positive support for doing something different. And one of the things that I said when we were there was that there were a lot of really good ideas actually for, even if we don't go with a balanced calendar, ways to improve just the calendar in general, like maybe lessening the number of half days for early release, or Monday might not be the best day for the last day of school. Some of those type of things that they could do now, even if they don't go with that. So overall, it seemed like the comments are pretty positive. The data seemed positive, and I believe they put it up on their website too.
Great, great. Thanks for filling us in. Anybody else with Councilmember Spencer?
Yeah, so I just, the morning after our last meeting, I left for an early flight down to Cancun, Mexico.
Rub it in.
Visiting the first time to Mexico. But what I wanted to point out is just in observing some of the things going on down there, we didn't run into any trouble, but in talking with, taxi drivers and some different residents there, something that we definitely take for granted living here in the United States, but particularly here in Liberty Lake, the safety that we have. We did drive by a few police stations, and they were just little shanties with some odd vehicles and things like that. So, we don't have to worry about, bribing the police officers, to make it back home, that sort of thing. So, so it's just something that I think we often take for granted, the beautiful and wonderful, safe place that we have to live here in Liberty Lake.
Great, thank you very much. All right, anybody else? All right, I will jump over to my mayor's report. I would like to just give a little bit of an update. I think I've mentioned in the past that I'm serving on the Association of Washington Cities Ad Hoc Bylaws Committee. And our goal was to have a proposal for the board and the cities to vote on at the AWC conference in June, but it's been using Lisa's words, it's been such a heavy lift because it hasn't been touched in about 10 years. So what we're doing is we're reviewing the makeup of the board to make sure it's even and equitable, and we're every city, whether they're 80, there's a city in our district, so District 1, and I've never heard of the city of Hatton, but it has 80 people in it. Up through the largest city, obviously, in our District 1 is Spokane Valley. City of Spokane has their own seat, as does Olympia and Seattle and Tacoma. So anyway, we're going through that, and it's been very, very interesting. And so I think the makeup of the board will look quite different. It'll probably won't come back for approval until next summer because there is so much going on. But one of the things that was very eye-opening is based on how the board is situated currently, there can be a situation where one city has 3 representatives on that board, whether it's, because there are members from like, WCMA WCMA and different, entities that do have board positions. So we're really working hard to make sure that no one city really has any more than one seat on the board. And so the question is how to manage that. Well, do you manage it through the nominating committee? I would prefer to see it in the bylaws. So we're working through all that. So it's a lot more work than we all anticipated. We've all signed on for another year on the committee to make sure we get it done. So I think there's a lot of good work going on. Speaking of AWC, Mark sent out an email on Friday reminding everybody that the conference is, this year is in Vancouver, Washington, second to last week in June. Kelsey can help you get set up. There's a recommended hotel, but there are a couple others a little bit close that aren't too far, that are less expensive if you prefer that. I found a little bed and breakfast for a really good price about 2 blocks away, so that's where I'll be staying. But yeah, it's a really good opportunity if you can take the time. I know Councilmember Kennedy's been to quite a few of them, Councilmember Kurtz and Van Orman. And I know Jed, you went this year in Spokane too. So I know it's a drive or a flight, but it's really a great place to learn and a great place to make some connections. A couple other events that they have coming up. We have the AWC Small City Connectors meeting in Medical Lake. It's a dinner on Thursday, May 9th. They have a webinar, Finance 101, if you guys want a little refresher, May 16th online. And then there's also a social media 101 webinar that's not till September. But if you find these things, either trainings on AWC or MRSC, Kelsey can help you get set up for those. Other events that have happened in the last couple of weeks, we had the Les Schwab ribbon cutting and grand opening. I was able to connect a local fast pitch women's softball team with Les Schwab. They were looking for a local team to do a car wash as a fundraiser. And I happened to know one of the moms of one, and literally we had like 48 hours to set this up. And so they got all of the girls. It turns out this team is 6th in the nation. I didn't know that. So maybe have them in here to recognize that some night. But they raised about $700 doing their car wash. And then Les Schwab I don't know if they're matching that or what their donation is going to be. So they're actually making a donation to the team as well. So it was great to see our new business supporting our local athletes. The Spokane Valley Performing Arts Center fundraiser was week ago Wednesday, I think it was. So they're still looking to add to their capital campaign. Costs have pretty much doubled. So they're trying to figure out ways to maybe phase in that building. It would be ideal to do it all at once, but they are recognizing that they're running up against some cost increases. The grand opening of Mode, if you guys weren't aware of this, so the old HP Agilent building, the top floor is Liberty Launch Academy. The bottom floor has now opened as Mode. It's a really great concept. It's a lot of co-working, shared space, but there's other things in there. They've got some lifestyle things. They've got exercise classes. They're going to have a doctor, and you can probably talk more about what's in there. But it's a really great concept based on kind of taking care of the whole self. And they would be happy to give you a tour if you go over there and ask to walk around. And besides that, upcoming chamber board meeting, Arbor Days Friday. Spokane State of the City is, again, if you want to go and you haven't signed up, I believe it's next week. And then the Expo kickoff is coming up. So I think that's enough. Oh, a couple things I added last minute. So do you remember a couple meetings ago I mentioned using emojis? So this is an article, this is about the story I was telling you about. So this is the MRSC publication. It just says, what does a thumbs up emoji indicate? That's what a Saskatchewan court wanted to figure out in a 2022 case that cost a Canadian farmer more than $60,000. In 2021, the farmer sent a thumbs up emoji as a response to a photograph of a contract from a flax buyer he had worked with for years. From his perspective, he was using the emoji to indicate that he had received the contract. The buyer took the thumbs up to mean the buyer's acceptance of the contract. When months passed and they didn't receive a product, they took him to court and won. So and there's more in here about with how the emojis affect records, public records requests and open meeting ramifications. So if you guys don't have the MRSC publication, you can find this online. And last but not least, if you haven't seen all of the comments online or heard about it elsewhere about the proposed temple that's going to be built in Spokane County, south of Legacy Ridge. I got a whole packet of comments, though it's not in the city. I tried my best to point everybody online back to, sorry, I know this is interfering with the mic, so I'll stop. Back to Spokane County. Their concern is obviously traffic, which I get, ruining views. There's all kind of whole bunch of probably legitimate concerns, but that is a zoned urban reserve. And so I did provide a link to the Spokane County zoning documents, 300 and some pages, and a church is a permitted use. So I've been trying to educate people on that. And also remind them that it's an application. Those things have to go through review. There will probably be changes, but in case you are getting emails on that project or documents, I just say, remind them that it's a county project and the city will possibly have a chance to weigh in at some point with regards to traffic impacts, but that will be it. We don't have anything having to do with the decision or any changes. So.
Is that just right over the, right into the valley, or is it in
It's
unincorporated?
unincorporated county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
So that's why it's a Spokane County issue.
Okay.
So yeah, if you do hear that come up, if you hadn't heard it before, that's what that's all
Yeah, I saw
about.
that,
So,
yeah, okay.
all right, I think I'm finished. Next up, city administrator report.
All right, thank you, Mayor. If everyone would take a look at the report on the events and reminder section, just want to remind everybody about some upcoming City Academy sessions. This coming Thursday at Trailhead, we've got the land use and zoning discussion. That one always is eye-opening for most people who attend. So if you've not registered, but you're interested in learning how the city makes decisions with respect to land use and zoning, come out to Trailhead on Thursday, April 25th, and then looking out the next couple of weeks, we have the session on the library on May 2nd, which will be at the library. And then we will have the session hosted by our partners at the Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District at the Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District on May 9th. The mayor mentioned the Arbor Day celebration after the proclamation, so I'll skip that and go on to the spring cleanup, which is this coming Saturday, April 27th at Town Square Park. This is the joint cleanup event that is hosted by WM and the city, and we're partnering with Goodwill again this year. If you are a subscriber to the city WM solid waste service, you will have received a ticket or a coupon in the mail. You must bring that with you in order to be able to bring your bulky and or green waste to this event. They are accepting donations of certain items, and those things are listed on the ticket. If you have questions, I would refer you back to that or to the city's website or WM's website. But that is going to be Saturday, starting at 11 a.m. at Town Square Park. The Liberty Lake Farmers Market, we're now about 3 weeks away from the start of that. And the mayor reminded me this morning that we need to set up a shared use calendar so everybody can log their preferred attendance in there so that we don't have multiple people stepping over one another in the tent. And so we'll get that up in the next couple of days. And I also wanted to remind everyone that we're putting together a podcast on the farmers market just to kind of bring the story to possibly a new audience, talk about its origins, how it's set up, who attends, how it's put together, kind of a human interest story that David Gaynor is working on. And we hope to have that online prior to the first weekend. And then the last item I wanted to touch on is the city council retreat. We've talked about this a couple of meetings now, and we, after the most recent poll, are at a place where we don't have more than 5 council members who are able to attend any one of those time slots. And so I guess the question at this point is do we want to go out now beyond basically the 3rd week in June and look for time slots again? Do we want to push this until after summer is over so that schedules are not conflicting with summer vacation and those kinds of things. What is council's preference at this point to try to get a time and date where all seven members are available to attend?
Go ahead, Councilmember Van Orman.
Mark, when I went ahead and put my name on there, I thought there was all 7 of us for June 26th, Wednesday.
There were no dates where more than 5 were available.
Oh, okay. I thought that there was 7 on that one.
It may have indicated that there were 7 answers,
Okay.
possibly.
Which included probably me and you.
Maybe. I'd have to look at
Yeah.
it, but maybe. But in terms of availability, there's been no date where there have been more than 5.
Okay. Okay.
Go ahead.
We brought this up at the last meeting about the possibility of just trying to combine it with a current council meeting
Right.
to just try to clear the schedule of a council meeting maybe in July or August. I'm wondering if maybe that's the best way to go. I mean, I don't mind waiting until fall, but you know, everybody's working on 7 different schedules, so I'm sure it's gonna be just as busy in fall as it is now.
Sure. And that would be an open question to council. That's a possibility for sure. Mayor, you've got a
Oh, I'm just
question over
I'm just looking at the calendar for council meeting days. So looking at June, it would be the 4th or the 18th is the week of AWC, so that would be out. So if we do June, it would be the 4th, July would be the 2nd or the 16th, the 2nd being the week of July 4th, which would probably a lot of people are gone. I'm just throwing those out there so you guys have them on your head.
So I guess at the end of the day, and I think Councilmember Kennedy had a question or a comment, at the end of the day, we can put together some additional options going out beyond the endpoint so far and get some more feedback. And some of those could be those dates on which we have a scheduled council meeting, and the option could be to conduct it during that time. So
Anybody else? Go ahead, Councilmember Kennedy.
For the retreat, I see the strongest benefit to have it as soon as we possibly can, but I know it's a challenge trying to get all 7 of us together on it. I had felt that unfortunately, if we could only get 6, then let's do it with 6. Because we're never going to, if we can't get everybody together, with the idea, the worst thing to be is that we don't do anything.
Right.
I am concerned about trying to push it further down the year, because we got 24 hours in a day. We either spend them or we invest it. I don't care how busy we are now. We're going to be busy in the summer. We're going to be busy in the fall. We're going to be busy come December. And I think it's important to try to get together as soon as possible so we can talk about the things that we've been talking about, what we've anticipated from last year, what the importances are, how we're going to move forward. I'd be apprehensive to say that I would be a little disappointed that suddenly it's the end of the year and we suddenly get together and go, oh, I wish we would have had time to talk about this earlier. So once again, I know it's difficult to get everybody together, but I think it's important that we can.
Councilmember Kurtz.
I agree with Councilmember Kennedy. I think sooner rather than later is better. I think all of us being there is important. Because I think part of it, I mean, it turned into a little bit of doing some work on some specific projects, but I think from my perspective, which may be inaccurate, I think some of it is about a little bit of team building and getting to know each other, and we're already 5 months in.
That's right.
And then we get into the budget season and we're already meeting extra anyway. So while we're not doing some of those things right now, I would love to be able to do this together.
All right, we'll keep working on it.
So do you want me to just pick a date?
The right date.
Right.
So Mark, when we have our directors meeting tomorrow, let's, because they're gonna be, input's gonna be important too, not having to be there. But let's look at the calendar again tomorrow during the directors meeting and see if we can narrow down a couple more to throw out, and maybe once we get closer to a date, maybe people have some flexibility to move some of their other things.
Okay,
know.
yeah, we can put some more thought into it.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
Second meeting of the month, this is the opportunity for council to ask department heads any questions about the monthly reports, and so I'll open the floor for that.
Oh, Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Mark, I just had a quick question for Kyle. I'm not sure if he's on, but I was reading the financials and the sales and use tax disbursement in March was 452. As of last year, it was 476. I was trying to figure out, is that just a function of the economy? Am I missing something there as to why it went down by about 24,000? Did we just do better last year, or?
So Kyle is not able to join us tonight, and so for risk of providing an answer out of context, our plan was to have the first quarter financial review tonight, but since he's unable to join us, we're going to push that to May 7th. And so I would respectfully request that we address that on May 7th, because we intend to anyway.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks.
All right, any other questions on this reports?
Hearing none, moving on, this item on the commute trip reduction. I'm giving you this briefing because on the May 7th agenda, you're going to see an interlocal agreement between Spokane County and the city on the commute trip reduction update. And so the commute trip reduction is a program that was established in state law or by state law. It's incorporated into the state's Clean Air Act, and essentially it applies to counties that have urban growth areas. And so Spokane County is one of the counties where it applies. Spokane County has branded this Commute Smart Northwest, and so you may have heard it referred to by that name. And essentially, this is a program whereby they look for opportunities to essentially reduce automobile-related air pollution, traffic congestion, and energy use through employer-based programs that encourage the use of alternatives to single occupant vehicle travel during the peak periods. And so it applies to employers of over 100 employees with certain criteria, but it also applies regardless of the number of employees to local jurisdictions. So we are part of Commute Smart Northwest. Even though we have just crested 100 employees, we've always been a participant. And so we are going to be bringing the ILA between Spokane County and the city for a renewal of this program to you on May 7th. And essentially what happens is that the county receives about $630,000 for a 2-year period to administer this program countywide. There are 7 employers in the city of Liberty Lake to which this applies. We are one of them, and some of the others are ones that you can imagine: Alltech, Fiserv, Huntwood, some of the other larger employers in the city. And so our portion of the allotment to Spokane County for this 2-year period is $47,000. And by agreement, we rebate that back or refund that back to Spokane County to administer the program. So all that to say, this is a program that's been around since 1991. It requires a semi-annual survey of employees of affected employers. So we just completed our survey, and the target for the survey is 70% of the employee population. In past years, we've had trouble hitting that. This year, through the efforts of our coordinator, who is Tate Garcia, we have hit close to 80%. So she's done a great job this year of getting additional participation. So we're not anywhere close to being on that line of non-compliance. And so if there are questions about the program or the ILA, which you haven't seen, I'll be happy to answer, but expect to see the ILA on the May 7th agenda. And seeing no questions, we'll move on to the Centennial Trail project update. We talked about this last meeting, but there was an open question that we now have an answer to. So if Jen is able to join us, I'm going to ask her to provide the update. If not, I will try to muddle my way through it.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. So at the last meeting, and as well as at the last meeting, many of the public have been asking, why is the entire 14-mile section closed down? Why could they not have done it in smaller sections, leaving the other sections open? I did send that question off to State Parks for a formal response. And basically what they stated was, some of the work is being done in phases. So it has to start with tree work. They have to prune the trees back from the trail. In order to do that with the best cost efficiency, it doesn't make sense to do that in sections of the trail. It makes sense to do that all at once. Same with vault and utility vault and drainage fixes and repairs. They are raising some of the drainage and utility vaults. And once they do that, they need to do that through the entire 14 miles. Again, it's more costly to have them come back and do it in sections. It's more efficient to do it all at one time. Once those vaults are raised and those drains are raised, it does present a hazard to citizens using the trail. So once that 14-mile stretch has raised vaults and drainage, it's not a good place for citizens to be using the trail. So the other item that isn't mentioned, but they did state that when Poe is in there with their dump trucks and their paving equipment, there are often long stretches of the trail that the trucks have to back down once they're in, because there are few turnarounds for the large equipment. The trail obviously was not built for large equipment to be on. So in order for the dump trucks and the paving equipment to access portions of that trail, once they're in, they have to back out, and those have to be guided out by contractors on foot to make sure there aren't citizens on the trail. So for the safety of the public, it just makes more sense, and cost efficiency, it makes more sense to close that 14 miles down. Are there any questions?
It doesn't look like any. Thanks, Jen. I saw that earlier. That explanation really helps.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Last item on my report, a quick update on the Trailhead Restaurant. There have been a lot of questions about this, and rightfully so. This is an important project. I'll invite Lisa up to the podium so she can help tag team this. If council will remember, the Bird agreement, which is our broker, our real estate broker, was approved by council on March 5th. So that was about 7 weeks ago. In that 7-week period, we've had a lot of interest. There's been a lot of interest. And so on that, I'm going to pivot over and allow Lisa to provide some additional details, although there aren't many, and to talk about some next steps.
Yeah, so we have received one formal letter of intent, but there's a number of other users that are in the process of doing due diligence. I don't have any details, nothing to share, but we had made the determination that we wanted to wait until a handful of them at least had responded before we came back and looked at what was being proposed.
And so that's about the most non-update update that we could provide. And that was the goal. It was just to allow everyone to understand that we're still working through the process. Bird is doing what it's doing. We're getting lots of interest. We just want to turn that interest into letters of formal letters. And so we're waiting for that due diligence period to be done so that we can evaluate those.
I think Councilmember Kennedy has a
Yeah,
question.
thank you. Lisa, shortest report ever. It was outstanding, outstanding. It was clear and precise. Thank you. Did we put hopefully a time frame of 90 days or something or other to try to bring this to a head? I know that's a moving target, but
They're trying to do it as quickly as they can, and I think people are doing very detailed due diligence, which I think, given the last scenario, it would be very good for us to
Right.
have people do that.
But the answer is no, we didn't for that reason.
yeah, good.
Councilmember Spencer.
So you said we're looking to collect a handful of, is there an exact number that you're kind of shooting for? 3, 4, 5, 10?
Again, I'm going to defer to the realtors and their sense about
Okay.
what's out there. Like I said, we've only gotten one so far. And again, my point just flew from my brain. Sorry. Long day.
We would like to have a variety.
Yeah.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Oh, that it's only been 5 weeks since you actually approved the contract. So that's a pretty short turnaround. And as I said, they've done a lot of showings.
I realize we're all hopeful to get somebody in there in a timely fashion. I know the golfers are, everybody is here, but I know that best for us is, if anything, take our time to make sure we do this right.
Exactly.
We don't want to rush into the situation on it. If that building sat there vacant for a period of time, as tough as that would be, as long as we get the right person in there, it will be worth it.
Mhm.
Because 1, 2 years down the road, if it sat there for a whole year, God forbid, 1 or 2 years down the road and we have the right tenant there, we won't even worry about that year we didn't have a tenant.
So, and I will say this, that, and I have heard this, from the Realtor, that in terms of the people that are doing their due diligence, that there's, we were very concerned about the, lead time for restaurant equipment. And what I'm hearing is that that it's really come down a lot, and that it's really like a matter of weeks, not months. So that's a really good thing. The other thing is that one of the reasons why it's taking a little longer is because people are looking at the TI plans that we have available and trying to see how they can work with that. And that's is almost more challenging to kind of modify that to your needs as opposed to going out and doing a whole
Yeah.
design from scratch. Much faster, but it takes a little time up front. And so that's my understanding what people are actually going through. And we've been providing, we've been responding to requests for information about things like plumbing and things like that.
And can you confirm the rumor that it is not Cheesecake Factory? Never mind. Don't
Never
answer that
know.
question.
Go ahead, Linda.
When you guys say letter of intent, do you mean an offer?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
a proposal.
Well,
All right. Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it.
And that concludes my report.
And I'm going to add one thing that just popped in my mind. I don't know if the council got the reminder, but May 31st is the Glow Golf Tournament for city employees, and council is welcome as well. So I'll make sure Heidi, if you guys weren't already on that, I'll have Heidi send that back out. So that's where you play at Trailhead in the nighttime with the glow balls and glow. It's like $20 to register. You can bring your team. You can bring outside people. I just asked if Ty could just put me on a team, but I think it sounds like a lot of fun time for all of us to get together and just have some fun. And there'll be activities in between the holes.
Can I make one question?
Absolutely.
Well, it looks like Mark left, so we can come back to it.
Okay. All right, I'm done with that. So we are on to Parks and Arts Commission.
Good.
Welcome. Thanks for being so patient.
Thank you. My name is John Barr and I'm representing Parks and Arts tonight and providing the report. Oh, good. And we've got the some great slides tonight. Those were prepared by our Commissioner Laura Frank. I think she did a great job. And the first topic tonight is basketball court and the skate park dedication. The basketball court mural extension, the basketball court and the mural extension are complete. And so the dedication date is tentatively planned for Saturday, June 8th. And they're planning to have both artists at the dedication. So save the date, it's June 8th. And I just want to, commend Commissioner Laura Frank. She deserves a lot of kudos for shepherding this project to a great and positive outcome. So I just wanted to recognize her. On the next slide, on the Trailhead art walls, we're drafting a call to artists to create a whimsical map of Liberty Lake. And we're also partnering with Ridgeline Art Department to curate a rotating student gallery, planning on perhaps rotating it once every 6 months or so. But that's something to look forward to. As to the whimsical map of Liberty Lake, they're trying to, highlight the areas of the city that not necessarily businesses, because those could change or something like that. But, places like the Arboretum, the farmer's market and stuff like that. So.
Great.
And then next slide, please. And then we have a new project. So the first one was completed and then in process. The new project is Liberty Lake Together, and it's called to artists, approved, sent to 80 artists regarding proposals. And the location, as you can see there, is the city owned property at the Kramer Parkway and the Country Vista Drive. The plan is to have some sort of sculpture installation by 2024. So pretty quick turnaround, but as to what the sculpture will look like, I guess we'll decide or find out once we get all those requests for artist proposals back. And then one last slide. And then we discussed at our last meeting, scheduling a workshop with City Council as a way to provide 2025 project and budget details and solicit feedback from the council members, and something we're looking forward to as well.
Great. Thank you so much. You guys have any questions? Doesn't
Great.
look like it. As soon as you have a time for that June 8th, let us know.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, and we have Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District on here, but I think they went last meeting. Is there anybody online? In Sewer and Water?
It looks like Bill Genoway's online.
Oh, welcome, Bill. We're going to promote you if you have a report. You are on mute. If
Can you hear me now?
you can, welcome.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I don't have much to report. I just want a couple updates. The open house for a 50-year celebration is on May 8th. Remember, backflow testing has to be in by June 30th. And I really enjoyed the Central Valley administrator, superintendent, and his talk. It was interesting, and some things I didn't know about, so that was good. That's all I have to report.
All right, well, thanks for sticking with us and giving us the short report. We hope to see you at the 50th anniversary party.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we're at workshops and we don't have anything, so we will move on to general business consent agenda.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve general business consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Kurtz. Sometimes I can't tell between you and Wendy on the microphone. All right, any, since it's consent agenda, no comments or questions. So those in favor of approving consent agenda items A through G, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-6-0.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve general business item 11A.
Do we have a second?
Second.
A second from Councilmember Spencer. Any questions on this? I know, Chief Asmus, Commissioner Asmus, Safety Director Asmus is here, to accept the donation. Do you guys have any questions about this one? Doesn't sound like it. All right, so all in favor of approving the donation of tactical vests to CVSD, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Sounds like you got some vests. Awesome.
We'll make a motion to approve general business item 11B, the confirmation of Benjamin Turner to the position of Public Works Director.
Second.
And just before you get there, Ben is online.
Yeah,
so
we're
if you-
gonna get him promoted too. So we'll take the second. Who was that?
Andy.
Councilmember Kurtz. So we have a second. And so, welcome, Ben. I don't know if you can get your camera on or not.
Let me try. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you fine. Thank you.
Okay, I am not seeing a camera button on here. I'm really
Okay.
hard. Technology's
okay.
fun. I apologize.
No, that's fine. I just want to give you a chance to introduce yourself to the council. They have all been given a copy of your resume. Obviously, I brought you forward for confirmation. So I figure I'd turn it over to you to give a short introduction, and then if the council has questions, they will be asking you.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So yeah, my name is Ben Turner. I grew up in the Dalles, Oregon. So about a 4-hour drive from Liberty Lake. Went to school in Oregon through college, joined the Navy after 9/11. And for the last 22 years, I've been serving as a Civil Engineer Corps officer in the Navy all over the world. And I'm getting ready to retire. And so I found this opportunity through a couple of different sources, and it looked interesting. City of Liberty Lake sounds like a great opportunity for me and my family to come live and serve the citizens of Liberty Lake. The Spokane area is just like the perfect place for myself and my family. I've been married for 25 years, 26 this July. I think my wife is listening online, so I had to put that out. We've got a few more kids left in high school. I really appreciated hearing the Central Valley School District update. We were definitely interested in that. Yeah, really looking forward to getting up to back to the Northwest, where my wife and I both grew up this August, and getting to work.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to open it up to the council for any questions for Ben. Oh, okay. I don't see any questions. So I guess I will go ahead and go ahead. Oh, Councilmember Kennedy.
Not for Ben. Ben, welcome on board. I'm glad to have you here. But on this, because this is be voted on by the council, I did not see copy of the application anything in here. Did I miss that?
It was sent out as a separate email after the last meeting.
The resume.
Had a resume
Okay,
attached.
Mike, that's probably one of the 58 emails I didn't get. Thank you.
And I apologize for the issues you're having with your email.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, we'll go ahead and go to a vote. So those in favor of confirming the appointment of Ben Turner to the position of Public Works Director, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. Welcome aboard, Ben. I know you've been working on some stuff with Heidi, and now you can start your house hunting.
Thank you, Mayor. I have already started.
Great, great. And if there's anything and I'm sure you figured this out by now. If there's anything you need from us, we're all here to answer your questions.
All right, thank you very much.
And we look forward to seeing you in August, sometime in late August, early September.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve general business item 11C, the appointment of David Lewis to Spokane County Housing and Community Development Advisory Committee.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Councilmember Kennedy, and David's here. If you'd like to come to the podium real quick. And again, this is another situation where David can introduce himself way better than I can. And it was interesting when we did our interview. We got to talking. He's like, "Oh, I'm just really close." It turns out we're neighbors, like 3 houses away, and we had no idea.
It's crazy how that works. And that's one of the things I love about Liberty Lake.
So if you just want to go, talk about your background just a little bit, and maybe, all the council members might not quite know what the position's about.
Sure.
So if you want to go into that a little bit too.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. Thank you. So I've been a resident, I'll give you the abbreviated version. I've been a resident of Spokane County, going on 15 years now. I came out here to finish my master's and fell in love with my wife and decided to stay. She's a graduate of Gonzaga Law. For 13 years, I was the CMIS administrator, community management information systems administrator for the city of Spokane and Spokane County. So that's the database infrastructure that supports dozens of nonprofit agencies throughout the region in their mission to serve vulnerable populations, particularly those that are experiencing homelessness. In addition to that, currently, my current role is I'm the vice president of strategy at a software company called Ecovia that specializes in software applications that serve municipal governments and nonprofits, also in the service of vulnerable populations, including refugees, those experiencing homelessness, victims of crime victims, domestic violence victims, substance use providers, and so on. So that's just a little bit of my professional background. Eager to serve in the current capacity on the advisory committee. The committee is charged with evaluating, I think this last go around, we had 54 different funding applications. These funding applications, it's part of a mandated process for the county to get their community development block grant funding and other funds that they then allocate through a competitive process to all manner of nonprofit organizations that are focused on either on the housing side, that could be affordable housing, Habitat for Humanity, for example, is a frequent applicant through that process, as well as critical services to serve the vulnerable citizens of Spokane. So, and again, that crosses a broad range of need, everything from food banks, emergency shelters, and so on. So this advisory committee is made up of representation from cities throughout the county. Typically, those committee members will have a background in either policy, such as myself, governance, or have otherwise worked within that industry. We review those applications, we score them, we provide advice to the county commissioners and the county department that oversees this program.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for David? To me, it's a big job. Go ahead.
I'm just,
Councilmember Paul.
it's a county council, correct? Or
It's an advisory committee to the county commissioners.
right, so does he represent Liberty Lake only, or how does that work? Or
Yes and no. I mean,
So my position on that committee would be representing Liberty Lake. I mean, there's appointees that are intended to represent each of the cities within the county.
oh,
all right, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and I will ask for a vote for that. So those in favor of confirming my appointment of David Lewis to the Spokane County Housing and Community Development Advisory Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. Welcome
Thank
aboard.
you.
I know you've already been doing some work. All right, next up, we have council comments. Is there anything from the council? Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mark, right after your report, I wanted to bring us back to the idea that we proposed, I think in February or March. And I talked a little bit over email with Councilmember Kurtz about trying to do council meetings at parks over the summer. So I'm wondering, do you need further direction from us to make that happen? Can we vote on something that says, okay, we're gonna do maybe the second meeting of June, July, and August or something at some of the park? Or what do you need from us to make that a reality?
So I think at this point, we don't need anything. The plan coming out of that discussion was to allow the Community Engagement Commission to look at that and make some recommendations. And I think with the process that they've undertaken to look at the Transparency Act town hall, that's taken a bunch of time. And so I might suggest at this point, council makes a decision on how it wants to handle those kinds of things,
Okay.
and we just move on.
Okay.
And allow them to focus exclusively on the Transparency Act town hall.
Okay. So if we change locations, do we need a motion to?
I think I mean, that doesn't have to, we don't even have to notice that until closer to the
Okay.
meeting. I think my biggest concern is the technology
Yeah.
challenge. So I would suggest waiting,
Yeah.
until school's out, so we have a chance to address that. We have had, and I can't remember, I think Wendy, you were mayor when we did have one at Pavilion Park.
Usually
It
we
was
we
years
did it-
ago.
We would do it the first Tuesday in
Of August.
August.
Yeah, for
because
National
that's
Night
in
Out.
Crime,
Oh, yeah.
a night out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
So-
sounds like maybe we want to do maybe 2 of them over the summer but we can, that's what I was thinking. We can at least try to plan for that one. And then maybe one more over the summer, but let us keep following up on the technology piece
Okay.
of it, make sure we can hit all of the requirements that we need to hit these days to be able to broadcast and all of that.
And I'm wondering if maybe the city can just buy a hotspot, a temporary hotspot or something over the summer, make sure that they're broadcast.
Yeah, I
Check
think-
it out from the library.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, check it out from the library. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's several options that we can look into to make sure that we have what we need technology wise.
All right, we'll continue working on that. Okay, any other council comments? Mayor Pro Tem,
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Kennedy.
What I'd like to refer to is, in our last meeting, we did a proclamation in regards to the recognizing sports officials and stuff, which I think is outstanding that we were able to do that. And it's outstanding when we were able to do it, but it's also, if you think, why do we have to do that? We have to do it to recognize that what happens when we take teams of all baseball, football, whatever the case may be, and we get our kids involved, out there, and we want them to learn how to teamwork, things of the sort here. And the coaches that volunteer and also the team members and also the participants themselves really put themselves out to work to a common goal. And I was very pleased to see that. Over the last week, I read it several times. The more I looked at that, the more I realized that it's really very similar to what we're doing with the city and the city council. And what we're trying to do is the citizens of the city, we're all collectively trying to do what's best for all of us. And we try to do the best that we can, and we make mistakes as we go along with it. Some of the same things that annoy us or make us excited about being part of a team and stuff. I think back that I have great memories of being able to coach 9 to 11-year-old girls in softball. And how I got pegged for that is that they couldn't get a coach. And I showed up at a meeting late one time and they said, "Oh, Mike, we're going to volunteer you for this." I go, "Okay, fine, thank you." But then I realized what I just volunteered for. And it was a lot of work, but I tell you, I have some of the greatest memories of being able to do that and see these kids just really get out there and go into it. That if we think about what did come up from that meeting, is that people got up and said, "Thank you for this proclamation." But also people started sharing, is we all know the bad experiences that we were at a game or something like that. We saw somebody doing bad behavior. And what I have to think about is that that's happened to us at this council. It's happened to us at this city. We're working for a common goal. There's coaches, there are assistant coaches, and we're all out to do the best we can for the citizens. I, as a council member, have the task of making a decision. I'm one of 7 who has the task of making a decision on ordinance, resolution, policies, and procedures. But I can't do that on my own. It doesn't matter how much experience I have or knowledge or how much time I put into education. I can't do that on my own. I need the Planning Commission, the Parks and Art, community engagement to do a collaborative effort so we can all work together and move forward. And when I see within the city that starts to fall apart, if we don't recognize when it starts to happen and correct it, it only gets worse. Because as it gets worse, then it gets to the point, how do we slow it down or stop it and go the other direction? I know that all of us will have memories of being at a game and seeing a parent or a non-parent yell and scream at the coach. They don't know what they're doing and start calling names of them. I think back when I was coaching the 9 and 11-year-old gals, I have great memories of that. But you know what's burned in my brain? The 4 or 5 times where somebody called me a name or I was an idiot. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't play by the rules on it. I would hope that all the people within the city, everybody who volunteers for the goal of where we want to take the city, remembers that when you come forward and call individuals who are trying to do their best for the benefit of the citizens, that we're either communists, Nazis, or racists, that puts a bad taste in their mouth. And don't we look at me, myself, I'm no different than anybody else. Your feelings get hurt, and I look at that, these same individuals, how can I look at them the same way in moving forward? So I hope what we'll do is take this as a healing time, that where do we want to go, where we've been, we're a city of 20, 21 years, and we're going to have growth challenges. We're never going to be away from that. But we need to continue to work as a team from everybody, to the people who advise us. Such as I said earlier, I can't do this on my own. I have to rely on the people of these committees. So I hope we can move forward and not forget the past, remember the past, and realize by remembering them, those are areas that we look at and say, we don't want to go back there. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? All right, we move on. We have, don't have any public hearings or appeals, but we do have a resolution 24-259. Kelsey.
Resolution number 24-259, a resolution of the City of Liberty Lake in the matter of authorizing the inclusion of the municipal boundaries of the City of Liberty Lake within an aquifer protection area.
Okay. We have a motion.
Motion to approve resolution number 24-259.
We have a
Seconded.
second by Councilmember Van Orman. All right, do we have any questions or comments? Explained twice, explained 3 times. All right, we'll go ahead and take a vote. Oh, yes, citizen comments. Thanks, Sean, keeping me honest. So we do allow the opportunity for citizen comments when we have a resolution. So if there's anybody who would like to speak on this topic specifically, anybody here in chambers or online, the only said comment would be only specific to this resolution that is coming up for vote. So I don't see anybody here in chambers. Is there anybody online? Perfect. Okay. So we will go ahead and go to a vote. All those in favor of approving resolution number 24-259, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. We are on to ordinances. First, we have a first read with regards to ordinance 119E.
Ordinance number 119E, an ordinance of the City of Liberty Lake, Spokane County, Washington, amending ordinance 119B, establishing the Liberty Lake Public Library and repealing any provisions in conflict thereof.
Okay, now I know this is first read. You guys have the red lines. Are there any comments before we, because at the next meeting will be the vote. Mayor Pro Tem.
Two quick comments. One, I was glad to see at the recent Board of Trustees meeting, this was well received, it seemed, from the board. So I was happy that they had a good conversation on that, and it looks like they're on board from what I can tell. My concern is that I think there's an error in the packet. I think the ordinance number 119D, which we're making the red lines on, still has a section that we actually took out unanimously in the meetings back in December. And that is section 2F. So I want to make sure that we don't approve a new ordinance with that back in when the intent was to take that out and it was voted upon
Yeah.
and everybody agreed to that.
Good catch, good catch. So we can capture that in this one? Or we just amend the red lines because it was already done? I don't know what was published on D when it was put out.
It was published with that 2F stricken.
Okay.
And so it looks like this somehow got unstricken in the conversion
Okay.
to E.
All right. So there's no so we'll just make sure when we have the final version at the second read that's removed.
Yes.
Okay, great, good
Thank you.
catch. Any other comments on this one? If not, we'll go on to the next item, which is a second read for 277A.
Ordinance number 277A, an ordinance of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington, amending ordinance number 277, passed September 7, 2021, establishing a community engagement commission.
Okay, do we have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve ordinance number 277A.
All right, we have a second.
Seconded.
Second by Councilmember Van Ormond. All right, any questions on this? I know Robin's here if there's any questions for the commission and as well as Mark. I think that basically going through the red lines, I think it hit everything that was asked for. So is there any comments or questions? First went Councilmember Van Ormond, then Kurtz.
I think Kurtz was first.
Okay,
You had your
I
name.
just looked up and they were both up. Go
Right.
ahead.
So my question in the summary statement that's in the agenda packet, it talked about that the Community Engagement Commission voted 4-2 to not go with the recommendations. But it seemed like from what I'm reading here, that there was maybe a lack of clarity with respect to what was being asked. And so I didn't know if clarity is needed before we look at making this ordinance change, or are there other questions that you guys had about that step? Or are you guys good with the decision to not allow someone from within the 99019 zip code to be a part of the commission?
So this was thoroughly discussed. And so I'm going to go through and highlight some of our discussions, if that would help. So
Yeah,
the,
I just want to make sure everybody can hear you. I don't know if the microphone's on. I'm having trouble too.
is that better?
little bit.
No.
You might
It's
have
not
to-
that, okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
You practically have to eat the microphone. to
Right.
be
I
heard.
know, I, and it's hard. So when we started out, we looked at this and it was two parts. We looked at that the CEC recommended, remember, the first one was the 5 at-large members, city resident with the voting rights, and that would then bring a total of 9 CEC to our commissions. And so, and that was voted unanimously as approval. It wasn't as many, that was more black and white. So I would say yes to that, Councilmember Kurtz. So then it got to the 9901, and when you looked at the zip code and looked at the parameters of that zip code, that encompassed probably a significant portion of the boundaries that was basically on the periphery, right, of outside of the Liberty Lake. So proper. And so then when we looked, here's the next, I'm going to try and run this through you on how we got to where we were at. We're a relatively new commission, and we thought we've already asked for a major substantial change. We could now potentially have 9 members, and we're still building in many ways the foundation of this group, trying to meet with the city council, have workshops, understand what the ordinance means. So we prefaced it with, one of the commissioners said, at this time, and I said, yes, I agree. For the moment, we felt that having a 10th adjunct member would be too much at this time. And I don't want to sound negative. We didn't want that to be perceived as that. But we're looking at this ordinance, and when this changes, as a substantial change, that now we could go up to 9 members, now from 7, and then having to, there's a certain readjustment, there's a certain trying to explain and mentor out potentially the 2 new members, and we only have 4 original members, so we have 5 relatively new members. So with that, we talked about the adjunct and said, okay, then this would be the 10th member. Adjunct would be a 10th member, non-resident, no voting rights, somewhere in the 9901 periphery, I'll call it, the boundary. So 2 of the voters, the commissioners, did say, well, if it was in the lake area, then that'd be fine. No voting rights, no non-resident. So then we continued to talk on that and deliberate that. But in the end, then it went back to, is 9 members ample enough? And we felt that they were.
Any other questions on Robin's answer? Councilmember Cargill.
I guess my question, Robin, is, it sounds like part of the concern is too many members. So,
A part of that is, yeah, sometimes,
because obviously you get more cooks in the kitchen, it just makes it more difficult. So
sometimes.
is there any hesitation about going from the 7 to the 9?
There was not, that was unanimous.
Okay.
We felt comfortable on there. It was because it's the residents, they're all voting, and everybody had felt comfortable on that.
All right, I'm gonna jump back, unless you have a follow, I was gonna jump back
I
through.
have a follow-up to this line, but so was it the 10th member that was the straw that kind of was like, we're not willing to go there, or was it the 99019?
I think it was that 9 members were ample enough,
Okay.
and I think that one of the members, yes, they felt that to keep it city, to keep it a city, to keep it city. So that was our recommendation.
All right, Councilmember Van Orman.
Thank you very much for asking the question that I was going to ask. And thanks for answering it.
Oh,
Makes total sense to me. And yep, get used to the 9 that you have and we can revisit it anytime.
exactly. And that's what I really want to preface this with is at this moment in time. And see how it works out with 9.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you, Robin. I appreciate that. I personally didn't have a challenge with if it's keep it at the 9 or the 10. I felt it was really you guys are best qualified to be able to look at how many members that you have. For me, what I felt the importance was the change was don't have a specific number in each of these different areas because you had difficulty filling those positions. Where Mark
Yes.
pointed out is that if that wasn't the case, then you've got vacancies right now that you could fill probably easily.
Mhm.
I have never seen a challenge within a particular neighborhood. If you have 2 or 3 people more there than another neighborhood, the importance is, are they actively involved? What do they bring to the table? Do they have the experience? Do they have the time and effort to put forward? That part of the change I'm very supportive of.
And we were too. That one, that portion.
Okay, well, if there's no more questions for Robin, we'll see if there's any citizen comments. If there's any comments on second read ordinance 277A, I'll look here in the chambers. It doesn't look like any. Is there anybody online who would like to comment on this ordinance specifically and nothing else?
No hands raised.
Okay, all right, we don't have anybody online, so I'll go ahead and ask the council for a vote. So those in favor of approving ordinance 277A, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. Thanks, you guys. Okay, coming closer to an end here. So we have no emergency ordinances. Next, we have the introduction of upcoming agenda items. You have the matrix in front of you. It's like we've got a couple serious, serious, but some heavy topics coming up on May 7th. A couple planned for the meeting after that, and then it's like June is open, so we will start looking at what we're going to have for June. Is there any other topics on here that we haven't talked about tonight that anybody feels they want to add to the agenda in the future? Councilmember Cargill.
Not necessarily adding, but I guess based, Kelsey, on the email that you sent out regarding the comprehensive review of the city ordinances, does it make sense to schedule that based, and maybe this is a question for Mark as well, based on your email? Since you said that obviously here are the links, here's the starting point, or would you rather us wait until we get more of a defined goal here, I guess?
I would say maybe sometime in June, that'll give us a chance to talk about it more internally as to any process we might want to propose. And if you guys have suggestions on how to tackle that, I'd happy to, if you can send Kelsey, Mark and I an email, or we just respond to that one, but not reply all. Does that work?
Sure. So I would feel comfortable slotting that discussion into any timeframe, because I think staff has a recommendation. We obviously would be interested to hear council's feedback on that recommendation, but we're comfortable to bring that forward, say in that, what would that be, the July 16th meeting potentially?
Oh, not June.
Or did we say June?
Yeah, there's nothing
Either of
scheduled for
the
June.
June meetings
Yeah.
as well.
Okay.
I was looking at the July 2nd date, but it could be before that.
Sure. Okay, so if any of you guys have any suggestions on how you think we could best tackle that, we'd like to hear it. And like Mark said, staff's got some recommendations as well.
Okay.
All right, any other future items, Linda?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Steve before, I'd like to, visit, Town Square.
Well, so we have the master plan on the schedule for this year. And so that workshop will be scheduled when we're at that point. So things like the master plans, the sidewalk master plan, the facilities master plan, that all gets added on as they come up in Lisa's work plan.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? All right, not hearing any. We don't have an executive session, so unless anybody has anything else to add. Citizen comments, I always miss that. All right. Because I saw who turned in their papers and I thought So we have a couple comments here in chambers. Again, if anybody has a comment from the audience online, please send a note to our meeting host in chat. 3-minute limit, keep it respectful and again, no back and forth. And if no, we'll just stop there. That's to not jinx anything. So Chief Brian Asmus.
Bless you.
Evening, Mayor, members of the council. So a few hats tonight for my comments. One is I am wearing the Valley Fire Commissioner shirt, but I'm not talking about that. But I'm representing the Spokane Valley Fire Department as one of your fire commissioners. But I want to thank you for the donation of the tactical vests to the Central Valley School District. Dr. Parker spoke before you about the importance of having those partnerships. And I do believe that Central Valley School District with City of Liberty Lake Police Department, Spokane Valley Fire Department, City of Spokane Valley has a really good partnership. Whether that is we can assist with providing facilities for training, what we recently did for the police department and the fire department. Spokane Valley Police Department wanted to see if they could borrow some of our school buses to do some training. And so we were able to accommodate them as well. And so those partnerships are very important. And so I just want to thank you for that donation. What they will be used for is the school district employs 3 campus resource officers that are employees of the school district. They are non-commissioned. They are assigned to our high schools. They look like SWAT guys. They wear external bulletproof vests. Handcuffs, radios, those types of things. They are not armed and not commissioned. However, like when Chief Simmons spoke at the last meeting about the vests that you wear on a daily basis, if there is a active shooter event, somebody with a rifle, those vests are pretty useless. And so the plan with those vests that were donated would be they would go to our campus resource officers that are in our high schools. In the event that there was a situation, they'd be able to quickly don those as extra protection as they're assisting our students and staff members. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I have a question. I understand you might be able to answer now, but if somebody could get back to me on behalf of Rotary, we had a meeting today and there was a question about the scheduling of the lodging tax committee. Because I know that's been canceled a couple of times and there was some trying to fill those seats and those types of things, but we just want to make sure that we're kept in the loop on that.
Okay. Yeah, Martin, we can make sure that happens.
We will get back to you. I
Okay,
know
perfect.
Kyle is scheduling that and I don't know the answer, but we'll
No,
get it to you
that's fine.
tomorrow. Yeah.
We just don't want to miss it. Yeah. That's all I have. So thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. All right, Mr. Seba.
Putting on the other hat, CEC hat, like to thank you, Robin, and myself, like to thank you all for approving ordinance number 277A. Finally, we should be able to fulfill getting 9 members onto our commission. So again, thank you very much for approving that. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. All right, is there anybody online? Perfect. All right. So if there's no other business to discuss, I'm looking at the room, we will go ahead and adjourn. Thanks for coming, everybody. What a great time to get the hiccups. And of course, right as the meeting, oh, I'm wrong. They're still there. My apologies.